In this week's chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, a domain gets expanded, a gambling addict feels qualified enough to speak, and a 10-year-old kid continues to hard carry the entire squad. Now, if I've said it once, I have said it 100 times. Sukuna is the GOAT, and he is obviously gonna win the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen because no one could possibly be stronger than him. I mean, who needs friends when you have the power of binding vows on your side? Right, I'm just gonna start the video. I can't be bothered to keep going with this intro. The chapter begins by giving us our weekly dose of Gojo name drops, because somehow this man still runs Jujutsu Kaisen. Mr. Narrator explains that after Black Flash number 2, Gojo found a way to spread the burden of reverse curse technique to other parts of his brain. This basically means that he used other, less damaged parts of his brain to run reverse curse technique. And you want to know how he managed to do this? Easy, Gojo. And according to the narrator, after his second Black Flash, Sukuna should have also been able to do this. You want to know why? Easy, Sukuna. But unfortunately for him, he can't because he got beat up by his 15-year-old nephew. After staring silently at the ground and realizing that he's completely f***ed, Sukuna finally decides that now is the time to turn it up one massive notch. After so long of being too much of a vegetable, Sukuna finally manages to expand Malevolent Shrine, but something is not quite right. It looks really cool and really strong, but in reality, it's actually all deformed and quite shit. But it does look like he managed to actually mix in a bit of Chimera Shadow Garden and perhaps a little sprinkle of Tengen in there, which is pretty cool, and I hope we get to see more of that soon. But for now, it is just called Malevolent Shrine, and it does only show Sukuna's curse techniques being in use. So I'm just going to assume that it's just a real fucked up version of Malevolent Shrine because of all that brain damage he took from Gojo. Apparently, Sukuna can actually keep his domain range and output normal, despite the fact that he's been drained dry of output for the last 30 plus chapters. And how did he do this, you ask? Well, how does the King of Curses do anything? Binding vows. Duh. Do we know what the binding vows are? No. Will we ever know? Probably not. Do they justify a full output domain expansion? I mean, if he gave up something real special, like his second mouth, arms, balls, or world-cutting slash, then maybe. But otherwise, no. Sukuna also used different hand signs and supposedly used a part of his brain that is different to the part damaged by Infinite Void. And Infinite Void supposedly damaged the part of Sukuna's brain that is responsible for barriers. So like, what's the point in even having a part responsible for something if you can just decide to change it whenever you want? And I guess the same applies to Gojo and his weird-ass reverse curse technique relay circuit thing. But the point is, Malevolent Kitchen is back in business. Thank God though, because we finally get to see some actual insight into the 1-month training time skip and how they cheated. Also, I often get clowned when I'm wrong in a theory, but why can't that happen when I'm right too? Like, I made 2 different theory videos that perfectly predict at least 2 things that occur in this chapter. And the first one is that Yuji and Chozo have a more cursed energy efficient blood manipulation reverse curse technique. And believe it or not, this is exactly what they talk about in the beginning of this flashback. For some reason, Hikari feels qualified enough to talk and manages to come out with the most Captain Obvious shit by saying that they should all learn reverse curse technique. Now, it might just be a flashback, but I'm happy that you Hikari fans at least get a little bit of Hikari content in this chapter. Anyway, Chozo says that Yuji and himself should be fine, and then asks the reverse curse technique users how they actually compensate for their blood. Hikari has no clue because Jackpot does all the work for him. Yuta then says he does it off instinct, and if that isn't definitive proof that he's related to Gojo, then I don't know what is. And finally, Shoko gives the correct answer of turning cursed energy into blood. Chozo then flexes on Shoko a little bit and says he is half cursed, which allows him to convert cursed energy into blood without the need of conventional reverse curse technique. And this means that it won't be anywhere near as taxing on his cursed energy. And because Yuji ate his remaining siblings, he can also do this. Now, in my blood manipulation video recently, I made a whole section committed to Yuji and Chozo having a more efficient blood version of RCT, and no one remembers that. Anyway, following Chozo's yap session, Gege casually confirms one of the biggest theories in Jujutsu Kaisen, soul swapping. But it's not actually Yuji causing the soul swapping like everyone originally thought. It's actually the real main character of Jujutsu Kaisen, Wee, or Wei, or Ui, as some people say. Do you know what? We're just gonna call him Brian, okay? Brian explains his teleportation technique and reveals that he can actually swap other people's souls. It's a bit long, and I don't want to spend the whole video reading the manga to you like a toddler, so I'll drop a little Allons-Y summary instead. The body is a box. The soul is the shit inside the box. Brian can swap the contents of the boxes without opening them. Keeping the boxes closed when you do this prevents the body from changing shape, like with idle transfiguration. By training in other bodies, sorcerers can ingrain muscle memory knowledge of cursed energy applications and manipulation into that body, hence allowing the body's original owner to use these abilities. Bear in mind though, we're only aware of this working for basic abilities, not cursed techniques. And being the top 5 sorcerer that he is, Kusakabe swaps with Yuji to teach him high-level cursed energy manipulation and a simple domain. Wow, I mean, it's almost like I predicted that would happen too. Shut up! Random note, but I love this moment between Itadori and Kusakabe. Kusakabe praises Yuji for his insane jujutsu talent, which makes Yuji get all awkward and flustered, but then Kusakabe instantly ruins the moment by making sure Yuji knows it's not because he's sick, it's just because Sukuna's insane talent for cursed energy had also muscle memory ingrained itself into Yuji's body. Nice one, Kusakabe. Very motivating. It is very clear now what Yuta meant by "we cheated," but all we have actually seen of this switch training is Yuji learning Simple Domain, and it makes me wonder what other switch training combos were made in that time. The limit of swaps per sorcerer in a month is 2, so each sorcerer had the chance to learn 2 new things. It's got me thinking what the best combinations would actually be, to the point where I think it might deserve a separate video. One combination I am sure of though is switching Yuji with either Yuta or Shoko. If they did not make this combo, then they are dumb as f, because Yuji can, in theory, heal the soul. Now throw Shoko and Yuta's ability to heal others onto Yuji and you have yourself a soul healer. Also, I am now wondering if Yuta learnt to shift his barrier coordinates from swapping with Hikari, and Hikari maybe learnt reverse curse technique from Yuta. It's a cool idea, but part of me wonders if Rika would start tweaking if Yuta actually swapped with anyone, so I don't know how possible that is. I definitely have a lot more to say on Brian's broken ass technique, which I may share at the end, but I also might blue balls you all and make it a fully fledged theory video. We cut back to Yuji expanding his simple domain and stating that Sukuna's domain was actually very messy and incomplete. Due to binding vows and just being Sukuna, slashes were flying everywhere just like in Shibuya with his normal Sukuna output, not the recent crippled vegetable output. According to TCB though, Sukuna does actually close off his barrier with an outer shell, which also removes the escaping binding vow. This limits the domain's range and also changes its operation, but I don't really know what the fuck that means. Despite being closed off though, the sure hit still affects inanimate objects without cursed energy, like buildings and certain Psycho Zenins. However, Sukuna is not so plot armored up that he managed to escape a catch. With Sukuna's current state, he supposedly can only hold his domain for 99 seconds. Now this next bit did seriously confuse me, although I think I have found a good answer. Sukuna's domain is supposedly enclosed in an outer shell barrier and has a smaller range than its default 200 meters. So then how the fuck is it capturing what looks like the entire off city? And why are none of these buildings or other sorcerers getting shredded up in the process? Well, my main idea right now is that Yuji is actually the only one trapped in the barrier, and for some reason there is just a tornado-like madness going on outside the barrier. I don't know how Sukuna would be able to casually employ a technique outside of his own barrier, but I honestly wouldn't put it past him. I mean, the guaranteed hit would still only be active inside the barrier, because that's how domains work, but that doesn't mean Sukuna can't use another technique, like being able to cause a tornado outside of the barrier. It just wouldn't be a guaranteed hit. Also, putting up a barrier and still making the sure hit target material objects in the barrier then prevents Maki from simply walking in and slamming Sukuna. If she takes a single step inside that barrier, she would be sliced up. This is genuinely the only explanation for what's going on here that makes sense, because there is no way Chozo, Ino, and Maki are tanking a full output Malevolent Shrine with no scratches. And don't say Simple Domain, because you know full well that Maki cannot use that shit. So yeah, in conclusion, Yuji must be the only one trapped inside the domain's barrier, and if you disagree, then I'm reporting your comment to YouTube. Okay. Now seriously though, do let me know if you think it's anything different, because it still just doesn't really make sense to me. Yuji's Simple Domain shatters, and he gets Kashamo'd by a volley of high output dismantles. They cut clean through him, and he even loses a foot, but he doesn't even seem to notice, and he saves it with a cool ass pose. Yuji realizes that these slashes have stopped, and thinks they can actually do this, but unfortunately Uncle Sukuna has other plans. So on the final page, for the first time since Shibuya, Sukuna summons his furnace flames by chanting "Furnace open." And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I can now officially declare that Malevolent Kitchen is canon. The black box was apparently never a thing, and it simply censored the word furnace, and my highest viewed video has now lost all of its purpose. After the Crunchyroll subs incident, the kitchen curse technique memes started pouring out, and it was all one big joke, but here we are months later, and it was actually a kitchen all along. But what I want to know now though is how exactly does Yuji's shrine differ from Sukuna's shrine? Because Sukuna's knives and furnace are so Heian era style, and Yuji lives in the modern world where technology makes anything possible. So I do expect to see a Malevolent air fryer domain expansion right at the start of the next chapter. But to be honest, I doubt Yuji's shrine is going to be kitchen themed at all, because it's not the shrine that's the kitchen, it's Sukuna's mindset that makes it kitchen themed. There is one thing though that I am incredibly certain will happen in the next chapter. What with the domain having an outer barrier, isolating Yuji inside, and the sudden appearance of flames, I think we are setting up for a Sukuna versus Yuji shrine domain clash. Sukuna's domain is messy as fuck, and it has also lost the benefit of having an open barrier. Yuji, on the other hand, is Black Flash amped, he has awakened shrine, and he has got the potential to surpass Sukuna. So I call it right now that Yuji Itadori will have a Megami moment and domain clash Sukuna in chapter 259. Okay, I can't think of a better place than to end the video video right there on that amazing note. Incredible chapter as always. I fucking love the time skip flashbacks and I am aching for more. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Also feel free to follow me over on Twitter and also join the Discord, link below. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you soon for some break week copium.